Welcome to the Jim Bakker Show, coming to you from the village of Morningside, snuggled in the beautiful Ozark Mountains. Today, Jim's special guest, Dr. William Forston. I'm Kevin Shorey and the Morningside Band and Singers. And now, direct from Gray Street at Morningside, here are your hosts, Jim and Lori Bakker.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Gray Street.
Yes, hi there.
So good to have you here with us.
Yes, it is.
And so good to have William Forston back with us. Professor.
The professor.
Professor of history.
Yes.
And graduate of Purdue
Yes.
University. That's where you got your doctorate, I believe.
Right.
And you specialized in military and history, and you're a historian. You just love history, don't you?
Yes, I do.
What is your class like? Because I sit here hearing you, and I think, boy, do you know it's terrible? When I was in school, I didn't appreciate it like I do today.
Right. That's true.
I just hunger for knowledge and would love to be in your class. Do you have a free flow of thought? And what happens in your classroom?
It'd be kind of funny if some of my students would call in and make comments.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I would love that.
Well, look at the word history. His story, our story. To me, history is a collection of stories. And the greatest epic of all is the history of America. To me, a night, such a profound, I actually helped write, I co-authored a book about the night Washington crossed the Delaware and saved the Revolution, and then said, to the glory of God. We are a nation that had a special covenant with God when we were founded, and I still believe that, and I believe that is what will save us in the future.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Now, you've written 40-some books. They're stories, right?
Yes. I've written about 40 novels and 5 or 6 traditional history books.
You know, Jesus really put things in story form.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, the parables, as we're segueing into our discussion of ISIS, I don't know how many times I quote the story of the Roman
How did we go
centurion.
from Jesus to ISIS in one sentence?
Well, in terms of my favorite story is when the Roman centurion, the officer, doesn't even say, I have to get in and see Jesus, or Jesus, please come with me. It's simply, my servant who I care for is ill. Please heal him.
Right.
Yes.
And remember, Christ points out that this man's faith, by that faith, the soldier left praising God. So here, but let's put this in historical context. The Roman centurion was an enemy occupying army. They were the enemy. And yet Christ healed the friend and servant of an enemy officer. We don't see that message at all with what we're facing with ISIS and Iran today. It's the exact opposite. We will kill all of you. So here we have the message of peace. And that message resonates through American history as well. I look to Washington so many times saying it's God's help that's bringing us victory. I look to Robert E. Lee praying with a Union soldier and saying, I hope you get safe home. Abraham Lincoln saying, essentially, let us forgive our foes and rebuild this country. And then one of my favorite quotes of a moment of conflict is Ike on D-Day saying, we are embarking on the Great Crusade. We were the liberators of the world.
Yes.
Because we put our trust in God.
Yes.
Amen.
So that's what I love about history.
I really appreciate you coming to our show. Someone said if we don't know history, we're bound to repeat it. And I'm afraid with Israel, we may be on the verge of repeating it if we don't stop what's going on.
Well, what we were talking about yesterday, Netanyahu's speech was a clear and open warning to us and to the entire world.
This is why, as Prime Minister of Israel, I can promise you one more thing. Even if Israel has to stand alone, Israel will stand. But I know that Israel does not stand alone. I know that America stands with Israel. I know that you stand with Israel.
God, please listen to us. America wants to stand with Israel.
You know, when I go to Israel, Menachem Begin used to welcome me, can you imagine? And I used to sit down with leaders and go behind the scenes. And when I'd arrive, it was better than Hawaii. When you arrive in Israel, it's welcome home, you know. And so Israel is my home. It really is. It's to all Christians, Israel, isn't it, Laura? You felt that.
Yes.
It's our home.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so for us to turn our back on Israel, it's like turning our back on our family, our friends, the family of God. God the Father God said, this is my land.
Right.
Don't sell it. You can't do anything. I'm the one
Yes.
that gave you this land. This is my land.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, the things that really are difficult, and you've written a book about the day of wrath, which is vicious. We're going to talk a little bit more about this today. You wrote the book about ISIS before ISIS was really on the stage the way ISIS is on. It moved really on the stage after you wrote this book. And there is a Atlantic magazine, that's the cover, what ISIS really wants and how to stop it. Ooh, that's from the Atlantic? That's amazing.
That was absolutely shocking to me. In a good way. Atlantic magazine, March issue, cover story, what ISIS really wants.
I'm going to ask you that question today. Not just from this magazine. I haven't read the magazine. I've just gotten my hands on it. But I'm going to answer that question, and then I'm going to ask you, what does ISIS want? What's going on? And there's a new headline that Boko Haram has just signed up with them.
Yes.
And I want you to talk about that, because describe them, what they're doing, because you all know what they're doing because you've seen it in the news, but you won't identify it because we don't remember all these places. And I don't think we all know all the players. It's a big chess game right now that's going on. But the Bible says, you say, oh, no, Jim, you're not going to the Bible. That's all we have. That's the final word. That's the word of the living God. That's history, really.
Yes.
It's God's history and the history of what God has for us.
Right.
But the Bible is very clear, Lori, that Israel is going to be left alone in the very last days. All nations are going to turn against Israel. So that means the United States of America, which I am so sad. I'm still begging America, don't turn your back on Israel, because it will bring our destruction. Zechariah, read Zechariah, would you? Zechariah chapter 12, and it shall happen in that day that I will make Jerusalem a very heavy stone for all peoples. Yeah. What does that mean? A burden. Why? Why is the world revolving around Israel? It is. Israel's in the center. It's like the center of the world right now.
It's the heart of the world. Yeah.
So here we're reading back in the Old Testament in Zechariah chapter 12, verse 3. So he says, I'm going to make Jerusalem a very heavy stone for all peoples. That's King James. All who would heave it away will surely be cut in pieces, though all nations of the earth are gathered against it. Is that what it says?
That's exactly what it says. All nations. That's all nations of the earth are gathered against it. And America is included in all nations.
And I feel like America has turned against Israel, Professor.
Some leadership, alleged leadership, has turned against Israel, but the American people have not.
Woo. I hope so. I pray so.
Look at the reaction to Netanyahu's speech.
ISIS and many, many others are saying they will destroy the United States of America. Is that correct?
Yes. You know, an analogy I gave yesterday was Imagine you're coming home from work every day and you got a psychotic neighbor who's moved in. You're hearing gunshots. You peek over the fence. He's swearing obscenities, and he's shooting at a target of you. Is it time to take that serious?
Yes.
Well, that is exactly, within the last week or so, Iran took a large-scale model of an American aircraft carrier. I'm not talking about a bathtub model. I'm talking about a large ship, several hundred feet long, made up to look like an American aircraft carrier, and they took it out and blew it up. Now, do we take that seriously? As we are sitting here talking at this very moment.
I don't think we can take a hint. That's a hint.
Yeah.
That's a very loud hint.
In working on Day of Wrath, I don't even want to talk about some of the things I looked at, pushing beyond what American media is showing to what actually ISIS produces. Believe me, at this very moment, as we sit here in the comfort of this beautiful place, Christians at this very moment are literally being crucified.
Yes.
Crucified. Burned alive. And let us not call it beheading, because that conjures images of the Japanese samurai, alleged samurai, the cruelties inflicted on American POWs in World War II. We're talking about slowly sawing people's heads off while they're thrashing and dying. I think, Pastor, you saw the photos of the 21 Coptic Christians
I saw
that were murdered on a beach. Is that not warning of what we are facing?
Right.
That is what they want to bring to America.
I said it yesterday. I've said it several times. ISIS is coming to a city near you. The whole world is different. The recent news, Boko Haram joined in with ISIS. And I think a lot of people, and even Christians, because Christians don't want to face this. They want to go to happy church. They only want to go where they talk about getting rich and having fun and money, and we call it user-friendly churches, so you don't get riled up. You don't hear any of this. But all of this is happening, and as I'm studying, I realize we talk about the armies of the Antichrist, the followers of the Antichrist, the system of the Antichrist. It's already here. It's already established. The white horse of Revelation 6 is already there. You know, what's happening? It's come upon us unaware. Did you hear me? The Bible says it will come upon us unaware. And here we are saying it's going to get better and better. We're going to get raptured out of this, and yet the Bible doesn't say so. And that's why we're asking people to be ready, to be prepared.
What if it was you being snowed in for days or weeks at a time? What will happen if a hurricane or a tornado strikes your home? Natural disasters occur every day, and they can happen anywhere without a moment's notice. With terrorism on the rise and a broken political landscape, we need to be prepared for the inevitable. Get ready now. At some point, food will be the most valuable commodity in the entire world. Our hearty home-cooked food, Year for You, is available for a donation of $550 or more to the ministry. This will ship to you in your choice of 4 buckets or 2 totes. This offer comes with 1,165 servings, which comes to 44 cents per serving. As a bonus, this offer comes with 91 servings of premium recipes. The hearty home-cooked food Year for 2 offer is for a donation of $1,100 or more to the ministry. This will come in 8 buckets or 4 totes. The Year for 2 contains 2,330 servings of food, which comes to 44 cents per serving. You will also receive 182 servings of premium recipes as a bonus. Our hearty home-cooked food Time of Trouble offer is for a donation of $3,000 or more to the ministry. This will come to you in your choice of 28 buckets or 14 totes. you will receive 7,760 servings of food, which comes to 37 cents per serving. You will also receive 273 servings of premium recipes. Each of these offers include instant milk, 9-grain cereal with salva, macaroni and cheese, macaroni lasagna, chicken noodle soup, beans and rice, vegetable stew, cheesy rice casserole, white cheddar pasta, veggie Alfredo, stroganoff, tortilla soup, black bean burgers, cornbread muffins, potato soup, chili, potato slices, chocolate fudge brownies, pancakes, and biscuits and gravy. That's 20 different recipes for you to choose from. Call 1-888-988-1588. You can also go to the website at jimbakkershow.com or write to P.O. Box 7330, Branson, Missouri 65615. Don't wait. Now is the time to prepare for your future. Get your food now for your family.
And doctor, you're a prepper, really. I hate that term prepper almost because it sounds so light and happy. I'm a prepper. No, a pepper.
I'm a realist.
That was a pepper, wasn't it?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
You're a realist.
I'm a realist.
Yeah, that's good. So good.
Your book, 1 Second After. Every person on earth should read it. Every person in America at least should read 1 Second After.
Thank you.
They would get ready. And you've stirred up a lot of people in Washington, but yet we can't seem to go to work on solving this problem of 1 second after. And the grid is in desperate shape. It's been in that shape for a long time. And, leader after leader has come on this broadcast and told us we're vulnerable. America, in less than a year, 95% of every person in this country could be dead. And it's not a dream. It's not a pipe dream. It's not somebody's wild thoughts. The great minds have warned us. But yet, it never gets out into the conscious mind of America that something's very broke here. Mm-hmm. And it looks like our whole nation is broke.
Talking about the whole EMP, you know what really blew me away the other day? I just happened to be home. I have Fox News on, which I watch all the time. And all of a sudden, I saw this man. I didn't know who this man was. He comes on, and he gives what seemed to be startling reports. If I didn't know you, Professor / Doctor,
yeah.
if I hadn't have sat here and listened to all these great men, I would have been shocked at what I heard. But because we've had so many people come and teach us, we have been so blessed. When I heard it, I'm like, oh my goodness, this man is validating everything that we have been saying.
You called me.
I called
from the other room and said, Jim, look at this. Look at this.
Yes.
But yet, why aren't church people, why aren't pastors talking about
it has to
what
be on the news.
The lights are warning.
Right.
The warning's there, just like Churchill. Churchill saw the future, but people wouldn't listen. We could have saved millions of people.
So we looked this up. This man's name is James.
See if Mondo has it.
James Wolseley?
Yes. Wait till you see
do you know
this
him?
report.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Wait till you see this.
Oh, yes.
He was he just put it.
Well, let's look at it.
Let's look at it.
A former CIA director says if Iran obtains a nuclear weapon, even a primitive one, the U.S. would be at risk of a devastating attack, and not protecting the country is a dereliction of duty. He recently wrote a column on this topic, and he joins us now. Ambassador James Woolsey is our guest. Ambassador, it's nice to have you on the program.
Good to be with you, John.
You know, what was so refreshing about your column is that it sort of took a big step back from the details, back and forth about this nuclear negotiation, to the broader question about whether or not we're currently safe, whatever Iran does. Are we?
Well, from Iran we are briefly. We're not from North Korea because North Korea has both ballistic missiles that can put something into orbit and nuclear weapons. But with Iran, once they have a nuclear weapon, it doesn't need to be sophisticated. It doesn't need to be part of an accurate system. As long as it can be put in orbit by one of the relatively small or primitive ballistic missiles that the Iranians already have, it could be detonated over the United States, and that at the appropriate altitude could effectively destroy the electric grid. And that means we're living back in not the 1980s pre-web, but the 1880s pre-electricity, and very few of us have enough plow horses or water pump handles to live in the 19th century.
Absolutely. Is that your greatest fear?
Yeah, this is the one that kind of keeps me awake at night because the Congress put together a very good commission headed by Dr. William Graham, who was President Reagan's science advisor, and a number of other very distinguished scientists. And their estimate was that within the first year after the electric grid was knocked out, since pretty much everything we do, directly or indirectly, depends on electricity, we would have something on the order of 2/3 of the people of the United States die as a result of lack of food, lack of water, etc. That's one estimate. Their other estimate was 90% would die during the first year.
And going back to your piece, you say at the end that not really properly protecting this country is a dereliction of duty, and you really took on everybody. You've worked for both Republicans and Democrats, so
yes.
you know the game, you know the politics at play. I'm just curious of whether or not we actually have the capability to protect ourselves against the type of attack, whatever the outcome of this nuclear negotiations. Do we actually have the technology that would protect our country from the type of attack that you're mentioning?
Yes, generally we do. It's things like surge protectors and Faraday cages that are part of our electronics defense mechanisms. They just haven't been deployed to protect the civilian electric grid. The transformers could be destroyed by these types of pulses, and the transformers are the heart of our electric system. The commission had a figure of about $2 billion for the basic changes that are needed to be made in the grid, and maybe $20 billion to fix almost all of the things that need to be fixed in the grid. There'd be other expenses, but compared to what we spend money on in domestic programs and defense, $20 billion even to protect our electric grid from something like this is not a great deal of money.
Yes. Wow.
What do you think of what James had to say?
I know James Woolsey.
Oh, you do?
Yes. And I've shared a podium.
Scary what he's saying.
I have the utmost respect for him. I've shared a podium with him. I've attended conferences with him. And if you don't believe Pastor, you don't believe me, this guy was head of the CIA, and he was a good guy heading up the CIA, and he knows his stuff. He was dead on. And
is this facts?
Absolutely yes.
I mean, up to 95% of America would be dead?
If people don't trust our words, simply look up Congressional Report, EMP 2004, or the other one, Congressional Study, EMP 2008. This was a bipartisan commission. Their estimates run to 90% of Americans will die. People wonder why. Well, as James Woolsey pointed out, we have to rethink the paradigm of nuclear warfare. In the Cold War era, we were thinking about bomb hits here, blows up New York, Washington, Cleveland, whatever. And as he pointed out, no, you just detonate one weapon, 250 miles up, blows out the power grid. 90% casualties come from where do we get our water? Every major city becomes uninhabitable within a matter of hours. Average community only has enough food for 20 to 30 days max. Your medication, all of these different things, plagues breaking out, starvation, breakdown of American civilization, we die. That is why we cannot allow Iran to even have one nuclear weapon.
That's right.
That's one too many.
Do you all get that at all? I don't think we get it. I don't think our country gets it.
Now, the disturbing thing that he pointed out at the end, $2 billion investment would at least harden some of our infrastructure. $20 billion would do a major overhaul of our power grid systems. $20 billion.
But
gosh, I remember when that used to mean something.
Yeah.
We passed trillion-dollar bills. Trillion-dollar bills.
Yeah, a billion is nothing
Yeah,
anymore.
trillion-dollar bills where we don't even know where the money goes. I'd like to see $20 billion spent as an insurance policy. Look at it this way. You're a homeowner. Your home's worth $200,000. And you don't have insurance? Are you crazy? Bank won't even let you do that. This is an insurance policy for America, a $20 billion investment to harden our infrastructure, and the current administration's not doing it.
Why do we not fix it? Is it no one has the guts? You know, it seems like it's, if it's not politically correct, that if somebody might criticize you and you say, well, if we fix it and nothing ever happens, well, we pay insurance hoping nothing will ever happen. But why? Why haven't we fixed it?
Congressman Roscoe Bartlett headed that committee. He inspired me to write the book 1 Second After. And the first time I met with Congressman Bartlett, he said, the problem, Bill, is EMP has no constituency. Nobody pays attention to it. It sounds like science fiction. Therefore, to try and get it through is becoming all but impossible. He told me that 10 years ago. I've essentially given up on the hope that my federal government, at least for the next 2 years, is going to do anything. Therefore, I've taken the reverse approach, and within the last year or two, if the government at the top is not going to do anything, then by heavens, we as ordinary citizens and individual citizens should start preparing at the bottom up, getting things like this and food and supplies.
You see, you will be prepared if you read the Bible, because the Bible tells you what the end of days is all about.
Mm-hmm.
And we're here just to get people ready and to help you to prepare and to tell people that God has all the answers.
Yes.
And the generator, the ship has landed or docked, and we have about, would there be how many? 600?
There's 600, yes.
Yesterday.
Available.
There were 600 yesterday,
Yes.
still available of the 900.
Of the original 900,
that
that's right.
just arrived in the port. And if you want to get one, this is a fuelless generator that will give you light, will even keep your food. You just plug your refrigerator in for an hour or two a day, and it'll keep it from thawing out at least. And it's not a whole house thing. It's like a little miracle box that you can plug a mixer into if you want. You know, you can plug your big screen television. Those don't take much power. The new TVs. You can. I plugged it in and watched it for 8 hours one night on this.
Yeah.
You know, with the box with DirecTV running into it and a lamp sitting there in the living room, and I thought, wow. And then one night when the power went out, I'm sitting there watching television and thinking, I'm the only one in the neighborhood with a TV on because the power's gone down. I'll tell you what. Your brother, when the power went out in D.C. area one time, the neighbors came over and spooked because there was no generator running, and they said, "We see light on in your house." You know what? And then all of
My niece.
niece's friends came over and plugged their cell phones to charge them up into this thing. You charge your phones forever on this thing, but this is an amazing thing. Just the electric blanket. And I say get an electric blanket, especially if you live out where it's cold, where it gets really cold. If you have a power outage, you can plug that electric blanket in, and you only need to run it like a half hour under the sheets, and then just like in the old days, you know, like they had bottle warmers, you know, put them in hot water bottles and all. Yeah. And you stay alive because you have a warm bed to sleep in. And this thing, man, I dreamt this. I dreamt about this. And now it's a reality to have this little machine, and it has a hand crank, so even if the sun doesn't shine, you can have a little bit of power. You know, this is not going to be as easy as the sunshine, but it's amazing to be able to have it. It's better than anything anybody else will have.
That's right.
And you say, well, we have a gas generator. Well, so do I. But it'll last you as long as you can get gas. And if it's an EMP bomb, which these people, learned people, are talking about. This man is a doctor, professor, university professor, and he has one of these generators at his house. But there's people warning us.
Yes.
people who love America,
That's right.
people who know. You know, I was really shocked when Governor Huckabee, and I like Governor, but he sat on this show and said the same thing you're saying. There's a lot of learned people warning us. Where have all the smart people gone? What's going on in America, Professor? What really is happening? Because we don't understand it.
We've become in many ways a culture that's far more interested in what Kim Kardashian or whoever is wearing today, rather than the responsibilities of citizenship, which the Founding Fathers warned us that we must, one, be a moral society, and we must be a learned society, and that we must all be involved in a political process. And that starts with understanding your Constitution.
So
And what is the meaning of the Bill of Rights? And what is the meaning of the Declaration of Independence? We have become a rather decadent society.
Totally.
In relationship to this, I have the utmost respect for Woolsey. And as I said, I know the gentleman. And by golly, those who are watching this show, if you don't hear some of what I'm saying, go back and rewind and listen to what Woolsey said, and then take a look at this generator and think, maybe I better have one of these in my house. We talked about it yesterday, and I hope that these all get shipped out, because to me that means 600 families that have an additional edge for survival. And this is about survival.
And we ordered 30 days behind this in the assembly's process. We ordered another 900, and that's how they can get ready for us every month. And we've ordered them. But one of the days, the ships will stop moving. And I'm worried, as you talked about the gun-free zone. They see that at a school. So these people who you write about in Day of Wrath, this is ISIS. This is what happens. This is what will happen if ISIS comes to your community. And it's happening all over the world. Boko Haram, we talked about it. They now have joined with ISIS. They publicly, they have said, we're now joining with them. Tell us about them.
A year ago, if I may share the writing of Day of Wrath, I can pin it to, it was June 28th, and on that day, the morning of June 28th, I was watching the news and saw the video released of ISIS having seized towns in Iraq, and some of the executions. This was highly censored video. I probed in a bit deeper that day and actually looked at the real footage of the executions. On that same day, there was a news item about the complete collapse of security along the American southern border. That evening, I'm going out for dinner with my fiancée, Robin. I'm talking with her about this, and then she hit me with the moment. She said, Bill, I think God's tapping you on the shoulder to write this book. I went home. I sat there. I prayed. I was like, I don't want to do this job. Except 2 hours later, I was sitting there. I was like, I have to do it. Concurrent with that, the leader of my country is declaring that ISIS is the JV team. And secondly, he has no strategy. That's like calling the Waffen-SS of Hitler a bunch of Cub Scouts. These are brutal murderers.
Brutal.
The book comes out in August, 3 months later, and from the time I first started writing until today, we have seen the estimated number of people involved in ISIS as actual fighters catapult from 5,000 to 50,000. They are spreading they are metastasizing. They are a cancerous plague. And they have clearly said they are going to bring their version of jihad not only to the Middle East, but to Europe and the United States. They are apocalyptic, and they want to bring about their definition of the end times. And then, so we have two. We have on a radical Sunni side, we have ISIS. On the radical Shiite side, we have Iran. Both of them driving for the destruction of us and Israel.
The thing that I haven't talked about lately, and I just want to bring it in and have you comment on it. Do you have any idea how many gang members there are right now in the United States of America? Millions and millions. Mondo could come and tell us the names of the gangs and how many. Now, what did they do? When anything happens that would destroy, most of the people in the inner cities are living off from food from the government. So in a situation like this, what happens? The roaming gangs, millions of them, already organized. They take what they want. And so, I'm getting too deep in this story because it's scary. But we must be ready. And government's not going to be able to come and bring you food. They're not going to come and bring you medicine. We're introducing next week a bag this big, even a stethoscope in it, even sutures, to sew up sutures in it, put together by a doctor, a medical doctor, because you won't get to a hospital, you won't get to a doctor. And it's just having stuff to be ready and still be able to tell people the good news that Jesus is coming back according to the word of the living God. But if you want to read about it, 1 second after, book and audio, and the day of wrath, ISIS. This was written before they did exactly what you wrote about in this book. And going to a school and just literally burning the teacher and then killing the children. And then we have with it this offer for $55 love gift. These are amazing books.
That's right.
That will change your life. There's a flashlight where you can read it in the night and the power goes out. It is one flashlight.
And that flashlight's actually solar powered as well.
That's it. Right there. That whole panel is a solar panel. So this is, I hope it's eternal, but it's a never needs battery flashlight. So that's great. But I've got so much more I want to ask you. But I started the show out with, what does ISIS really want? Can you kind of sum that up? What in the world do they want? Why would they cut off heads? Why, Lori and I, the first beheading we saw was the children. And Lori will not watch another video. She will not.
I was with you. You showed it to. You actually showed that
And
to me, and I looked at it. But when you see a little girl and a little
2-year-old,
Easter-looking dress with her little tights and no head, it's beyond shocking.
What's happened to us?
let me share a very personal moment for me. Maybe some of you have seen the Jordanian pilot being burned alive. I watched the video. I had to. It's my job in a way. But what the personal side of that was, I'm sitting at my computer horrified, and then I look over my bookshelf,
and
and
your book.
Here is this book cover of a woman wreathed in flames.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take a deep breath, Bill. My fiance designed the cover. That's her.
Oh.
That's a silhouette of her. And I called her up on the spot. I lost it. It was just that personal connection of this person who I love with all my heart. And she designed this cover back in August. And then to see the Jordanian pilot as he's dying striking that same pose as he's collapsing in flames. And in answer to your question, Pastor, as to what does ISIS want, I can put it into 3 or 4 words. All of us dead.
All of us
dead. That's it. So that's all I need to say maybe for the next hour. All of us dead. What we are looking at both with ISIS, and we got to remember, these are 2 different wings of Islam. ISIS comes out of a form of Sunni, which is, I hope I get the pronunciation correct, Salafism. Salafism means to go back to the original teachings as they see it of what they call the Salif as-Salim, which is the pious forefathers. So they believe they're returning Islam to its purest form as it was practiced at the time that Muhammad was alive, which included everything they're doing now. Apostates, meaning supposed Muslims who are not following their version, face horrific death, mutilation. Christians and Jews, kill them all. If you read the article that's in Atlantic Monthly, and which is interesting, is this is by no means coming from a, shall we say, a right-wing publication. I've always viewed it as a bit to the left, but for a mainstream magazine like this to publish this article was startling. You can get it online. You don't even have to buy the magazine directly. And in there, it states that they wish to create an apocalyptic war. In their version of the apocalypse, there will be an ultimate final conflict until only 5,000, this is weird, they want to fight a war that they're going to essentially lose in the end, until only 5,000 of their fighters are left, at which point they believe that then triggers the end times. And here's the weird part. They believe that Christ will come to fight on their side. Now, is that strange to us, or is that strange? So that is their
I wouldn't
version.
even believe you if I hadn't had many theologians say the same thing the last couple weeks.
So they want to see this apocalyptic war that slaughters us by the millions, by the hundreds of millions, until only 5,000 of them are left. Then they have their end time. So here we have, that's the Sunni version. Out of Iran, we have a different version of creating an apocalyptic war, at which point their hidden imam, a leader, who they believe is actually hiding in the bottom of a well in what they call the holy city of Qom, this hidden imam will emerge and then lead them to victory. So we have these.
So they want destruction.
Yes.
They want apocalyptic
We have to rethink
events.
The nature of warfare. The Western concept in warfare is to strive towards a particular victory. The Union's cause during the American Civil War, reunification. The South's cause, a victory that creates a separate nation. Germany's version of victory is usually about winning a war. We are now facing an enemy who wants to see total destruction. A comment I like to make on this is that when we look at the Cold War, thank heavens the communists were allegedly atheist, because they wanted to inherit a material world that was still functioning. Therefore, we had what was called MAD, mutual assured destruction, meaning you nuke us, we nuke you, nobody wins. So for the communist leadership of Russia, it became a no-win proposition. We're now facing an enemy that goes, great, let's do it. Let's destroy the world, because then that fulfills our prophecy, and all of you will go to hell, and we will get our reward in paradise.
As we say, we have the story of the revelation. This is the flip side of it.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's exactly it.
And it's you're waiting and you're saying, oh, those things haven't come to pass. The Antichrist system, the whole world system is already in place.
Right. I like what
it's
Zach
later than you think.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
We have refused to study the book of Revelation.
Right.
And now we're living in it with these events that these men are bringing to our program.
That's right.
How long we'll be able to do this, I don't know. Our enemy isn't just an ISIS and all these other problems. Our enemy becomes our United States.
Oh.
If these events take place, if you don't have something to defend your own home, if you don't have food, nobody's going to be able to come to get you. Nobody's going to be able to come to help you, because every person is going to be fighting to survive and to take care of their own family. So the people who are supposed to run the rescue squad are rescuing. And read this book. Read your book 1 second after. Isn't that right?
Yes.
You've studied this. The rescuers can't rescue. I keep trying to warn people, but nobody wants to hear this. They want to go to a new movie and get out of the pain of life and whatever. But yet, I'm just begging people to study what God says. He talks about a fourth of the earth burning. He talks about fire from the sky. All the things that John saw in the Revelation, they're set up, and lots of it's happening. And then he talks about all the people that show up in heaven saying we've been beheaded for your gospel's sake, basically. Is that right, or am I just making this up?
It says that in Revelation 20. That's right.
We saw 21 Christians beheaded on the shores of Libya last week, about 2 weeks ago. They are in paradise now. They were beheaded. And that is a fate that is going to befall millions. It's what Netanyahu was warning us about 2 weeks ago. It's why, yet again, I had to emphasize, we here have to prepare individually and not rely on the government. We have to prepare to take care of our families and then pray that we get through this as a nation.
We have a little radio. I don't know where we're sending out a radio this week. Why would you send a shortwave radio?
Right.
Do you know why I'm sending a shortwave radio out, Doctor?
I know exactly why.
You do?
Yes.
Because if the grid goes down, there'll be no radio.
That's your connector.
And what would you do if we don't? You won't know if D.C. is wiped out. You won't know if our army are coming to help us. We won't know anything, and you can't imagine being without communication. I think there'll be a lot of kids go totally start raving crazy.
Crazy. I don't know what your generation
but it's there.
Do.
But that's the reason we're sending a
You can get the BBC Home News on this.
Yeah, so you can get Europe. You can get other countries on this. This is why we're sending it out. People say, "Oh, Jim, just another way to raise money." Well, most ministries raise money just on money. We raise our funds by getting you to get ready.
That's right.
Because I want to tell you, someday it's going to be all over and money's going to be worthless. And all the money you stash in the bank, I'll tell you what, today I'm watching the stock market, and it's dropped 50% of what it was at the worst drop in history.
That's right. Yes, for example.
That's today.
Yes,
it was
today.
happening. It went down real far. And I don't put anything on the stock market. Because it goes up and it goes down. I don't live on that market. But I know this, and I think it's very soon. When that thing crumbles, when this balloon breaks, what are we going to do? And it's coming, people. We are living in the very final hours. And this little thing, Professor, I don't think you've seen this little radio. It's just a simple little radio, but it has an antenna on it. But it cranks up to make electricity to run it. It also has a solar panel that lifts up.
I didn't see that.
So you just leave that sitting in your window, and it's charged all the time. It has batteries that charges up. It has permanent batteries. It has AA batteries you can put in it. And it has the
AC adapter as
well. The flashlight here. It has the light. It has the blinking SOS. It has this. Let me show you this side. Look at this bright little light here. There it is there. You can read. You can write. But this will be your prized possession if this is all you had. With light. It has 7 weather bands. It has 2 shortwave bands, FM band,
plus the weather alert,
AM band.
Noah.
To wake you up if you're
so important.
Sleeping. And the tuning and all is I really like the way it's tuned because it's actually a light that brightens up so you can find the station and then tune it in as to the bright light as well as to the sound. But this retails for like $99.95 or something like that. And we've actually thrown in as a bonus, a $12 bonus of an electric, the electric plug that goes.
Yes, the AC adapter.
Adapter, because it doesn't come with it. It's
right.
it's an extra thing. So we put that in with it. So for a gift of $65. But I worry about things like communication. And this is a very inexpensive little thing you could have. But you've got the shortwave bands.
I found a shortwave station.
Yeah,
what do you think of that?
Well, what I mentioned before. You can get the BBC Home News if need be, or you can get news from around the world. And, gee, I'm going to order one.
We need to send one home with you.
We have families, all of us have families that are spread out.
Yes.
Now, my daughter is going to college 250 miles away. My fiance's daughter 500 miles away. But we have a very simple code. All I have to do is just make a phone call, just say a couple words, and that means no fooling around. Okay, that boyfriend you really like, throw him in the car too, but get moving now. And I mentioned this family meeting I had a couple weeks back with my fiance's family, and it's just like, we're going to be prepared to handle 8 to 10 people for a year. And when I wrote 1 second after, I thought, yeah, okay, I'll take care of my daughter myself. And then I wrote Day of Wrath, but then after what I saw happen on the floor of Congress a couple of weeks ago, the message is clear. We're at the end game. It's coming. All of you better be prepared. And this is the place to do it.
The number one thing is food will be king. And our packets of food and all the bonuses will be gone in a few more weeks. We're through. We can't do it. If you knew how little we actually made off the food boils down to what is the year for you? About 40 something?
Yes, 44 cents, I believe it is, yes.
Per serving of food.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody does it like that. And we can't do it anymore. And that's why we're behind financially. We've found out that by the time we pay some of the handling and stuff, the secret cost, we're not making anything off from some of the things we're offering. And so we got to survive. But the end of the bonuses for the food is when this run of the food that we have, and it's in the warehouse. It's ready to ship, and I promise you it will be shipped because it's there. It's ready to go right now. They're actually going to be overflowing with food because we've ordered the food to be brought ahead of time, and so we're telling you it is there. But if you want to order any of the things today, we've been trying to have a little telethon the last few weeks just to kind of get our bills caught up so we can keep broadcasting during these last days. It's when a crash comes, everything's going to change. All the people who are fat and sassy and people who don't give you the time of day are suddenly going to be begging for food. It's just going to be such a different world. And I love America. This is where I was born. God so loved the world that he gave his only son for the whole world. I think we need to get focused on God.
Do you remember what Reagan said?
I don't know. I'm sure
remember
I did.
Reagan many times referred to, it dates back to a quote from the time of the Puritans of the city on a hill.
Is that right?
I believe America shall be great again. That we shall return to that vision as America, as Abraham Lincoln once said, we are the last best hope of mankind. We are failing at the moment, but I believe people listening to this program, neighbors that we know, we have fallen at the moment. But I believe maybe our greatness, perhaps our greatest day might still be ahead.
Will it come through a crisis, or will it?
Yes.
Do you think we'll turn? I don't see us turning. That's what's so sad. I don't see us turning.
Well, you and I were talking before the show about the number of times in the Old Testament where the prophets make the warnings, and what did the people do?
No.
And then what finally happened?
Judgment.
And then people woke up. But how long did it last? And then it happens again. We are at a moment of failing right now. And it's going to be some very tough times. The sad thing is our children and grandchildren are going to be caught up in this as well. And that's why I preach about preparedness. But you are dead right. We have failed at this moment. But I want to believe that our faith can bring us back to God and to the greatness that we once were.
I pray. But don't forget, order your generator while they're here now. Get your food in while there's yet time. And all the other gifts we give away,
Right.
order something today because we're working hard to get our budget put together so we can make it through the days to come. Our operators are there to help you out. If you saw something you wanted to order, they they know more about the product than I do. So just call 1-888-988-1588 and tell them you want to get the generator or whatever you want. And remember, the amazing pH, they're in stock. The pH water bottles are in stock. Thousands in ready to ship. Shipping within 24 hours now. So you can get them right away. There's not a waiting list on those. It's not, somebody's been saying it 6 to 8 weeks on the bottles that they're in stock. Believe me, there's no waiting on that. They're shipping within 24 hours if you want that. And by the way, they have replacement filters also now in stock.
Yes.
And a lot of people wanted the replacement filter,
Absolutely.
and we do have those in stock right now. So they can go to the website and order
Just
things.
go to jimbakkershow.com.
Or you can call us or write us in Post Office Box 7330, Branson, Missouri, 65615. Or go to the phone. The operators are there 24 hours a day, and it's toll-free, 1-888-988-1588. Thank you for being with us today. Remember that God loves you. Thank you, Dr. Borges, for being with us today.
Thank you. We love you.
God loves you.
We love you.
He really does. Bye-bye for today.
When you need a portable emergency power system that is ready at a moment's notice, the fuelless generator is exactly what you're looking for.
If I thought an EMP bomb was coming, or if I thought there was going to be a big storm or a big problem, I would want one of these in my house.
Something is going to happen in 2015 that is going to change how we view our system, how we view life. And when that something happens, you're not going to be able to get a fuelless generator. It's going to be impossible to get a generator.
I'm really enthralled with this device. It's an elegant technology. With every storm we've had this winter, I just pulled the thing out, I set it up in the living room, I run some extension cords into other rooms. I even ran my 60-inch television off it.
Call 1-888-988-1588 or write to Jim at P.O. Box 7330, Branson, Missouri 65615.
It's such an incredible offer. For example, this is for a donation of $2,500 to the ministry. And the unit just by itself is a retail value of $2,500, but you're also going to get a solar panel, which is a retail of $500, then the 20-foot extension cord, and that retails for over $50, and then the crank, which is a retail of over $200. So it's an absolutely incredible savings.
A lot of people ask me to endorse stuff and all that. This is the only thing I have been endorsing like this. I fully believe in this product.
Wow. But can you imagine in the pitch darkness that you have light?
You can also go to the website jimbakkershow.com. Thank you for your continued support that helps keep us broadcasting around the world.